Marcus Sterling adjusted his silk tie as he walked through the glass doors of Sterling Tech Tower. The morning sun hit the building just right, making it shine like a diamond in the city skyline. At 42 years old, Marcus had everything most people dreamed of. His company was worth billions. His suits cost more than what average families earned in months. And his custom Bentley Mulsanne sitting in the executive parking lot was his pride and joy. But if you asked Marcus if he was happy, he would probably just stare at you. Happiness was not something he thought about anymore. Success was what mattered: numbers, profit, winning. This particular Tuesday morning started like any other. Marcus had his usual black coffee, no sugar. He reviewed his stock portfolio on his phone while his driver took him to the office. The board meeting at 10 o'clock was crucial. A merger worth $300 million was on the table. Marcus had prepared every detail, anticipated every question, planned every move. He was always 3 steps ahead. That is how you survive in business. That is how you build an empire. As Marcus walked toward his Bentley after a quick morning meeting, his mind was already racing through the afternoon's agenda. He had conference calls with Tokyo, a lunch meeting with investors, and he needed to review the quarterly reports before the board meeting. His assistant had already sent him 17 emails that morning, and it was not even 9:30 yet. His fingers scrolled through his phone as he approached his car. The executive parking lot was quiet, just the way he liked it. Reserved only for top executives. No distractions. No interruptions. That is when he saw her. A little girl stood next to his Bentley. She could not have been more than 8 or 9 years old. Her hair was pulled up in a thick, natural puff that bounced slightly in the morning breeze. She wore a denim jacket that looked worn out, like it had been passed down from someone else. Her jeans had a small patch on one knee. Her sneakers were clean but clearly old. Marcus stopped walking. His first thought was irritation. How did a child get into the executive parking lot? Where was security? "Excuse me," Marcus said, his voice sharp and businesslike. He did not have time for this. "This is a private parking area. You should not be here." The girl did not move. She just stood there looking at him with these big, serious eyes. There was something about the way she looked at him that made Marcus uncomfortable. It was not fear. It was not admiration. It was something else. Something he could not quite place. Marcus took another step toward his car, reaching into his pocket for his keys. "Did you hear me? You need to leave now." That is when the girl did something completely unexpected. She moved quickly, stepping right in front of him. Before Marcus could react, her small hand reached up and covered his mouth. Her palm was soft and warm against his face. Marcus froze. His body went rigid with shock. In 42 years of life, nobody had ever done something like this to him. His mind raced through possibilities. Was this some kind of joke, a prank? Was someone filming this? But when he looked down at the girl's face, he saw no mischief there. No smile. Her eyes were wide and urgent. Almost desperate. "I need you to trust me," she said. Her voice was quiet but steady. "Please, sir, just trust me." Marcus's heart pounded in his chest. Every instinct told him to pull away, to call security, to demand an explanation. He was Marcus Sterling, CEO, billionaire. Nobody touched him without permission. Nobody stopped him from doing what he wanted to do. But something made him pause. Maybe it was the seriousness in her eyes. Maybe it was the way her hand trembled slightly even though her voice was steady. Maybe it was just shock. But Marcus found himself standing still, waiting. The girl slowly lowered her hand from his mouth. She glanced nervously toward the entrance of the parking garage, then back at Marcus. "There is a man," she whispered. "He was here earlier. I saw him. He did something to your car." Marcus's blood ran cold. "What do you mean he did something to my car?" The girl's words came out in a rush now. "I was waiting for my mama. She cleans the offices across the street. I sit over there sometimes." She pointed to a bench near the parking garage entrance. "I was doing my homework when I saw this man. He was wearing a maintenance uniform, but something felt wrong about him." "Wrong how?" Marcus asked. His voice was different now. Not sharp anymore. Focused. He kept looking around like he was scared someone would see him, and his uniform did not fit right. It was too big. He had this small black bag with him. The girl's voice dropped even lower. "He went to your car, sir. I watched him." He laid down on the ground and reached under it. When he got up, the bag was empty. Then he ran away really fast. Marcus felt like someone had dumped ice water down his back. His Bentley, something under his Bentley. His mind immediately went to the worst possibilities. He had enemies, lots of them. Business rivals who would love to see him gone, former partners who felt cheated, competitors who lost deals because Marcus was smarter, faster, more ruthless. "Why did you not tell security?" Marcus asked. The girl's face fell. "I tried. There is a security guard at the front desk. I told him what I saw, but he just laughed at me. He said I was making up stories. He told me to go wait for my mama and stop bothering him." Of course, Marcus thought bitterly. A little black girl in worn-out clothes trying to tell a security guard about suspicious activity. The guard probably did not give her a second thought. Just dismissed her as some kid with an overactive imagination. But Marcus was looking at her now. Really looking at her. And what he saw was not a child making up stories. He saw intelligence in her eyes, awareness. The kind of sharp observation that most adults did not have. "What is your name?" Marcus asked. "Zara," she said softly. "Zara Johnson." "Zara," Marcus repeated. He pulled out his phone. "I need you to tell me everything you saw. Every single detail. Can you do that?" Zara nodded, and as she spoke, describing the man's height, his nervous movements, the way he checked his watch multiple times, the exact spot where he had crawled under the Bentley, Marcus felt a growing sense of dread. This was real. This was serious. And this little girl might have just saved his life. He dialed his head of security with shaking fingers. As the phone rang, Marcus looked at Zara again. She stood there quietly, her hands clasped in front of her, waiting, not seeking praise or reward, just waiting to see if the adult would finally listen to what she had to say. And Marcus realized something that made him feel ashamed. If this girl had not physically stopped him, if she had not put her hand over his mouth and forced him to pause, he would have walked right past her. He would have gotten in his car without a second thought. He would have started the engine and driven away. Whatever was under that car right now, he would have triggered it. The security team answered. Marcus started giving orders, his voice crisp and commanding, but his eyes stayed on Zara. This little girl in her worn denim jacket and patched jeans. This child who had every reason to walk away, to mind her own business, to let the rich man in the expensive suit deal with his own problems. But she had not walked away. She had stayed. She had waited. And she had stopped him. "Trust me," she had said. And for reasons Marcus still did not fully understand, he had. The executive parking lot transformed into chaos within minutes. Marcus's head of security, Robert Chen, arrived first with 3 members of his team. Then came the building security. Within 15 minutes, police cars pulled up with their lights flashing but no sirens. They did not want to cause panic. Marcus stood 20 feet away from his Bentley, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. Zara stood beside him, quiet and watchful. She had not left. When Marcus tried to send her away to safety, she had simply said, "My mama does not finish work until 5. I have nowhere else to go." So she stayed. Robert Chen approached Marcus with a grim expression. "Sir, we need to bring in the bomb squad." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Bomb squad. Marcus had heard Robert correctly, but his brain refused to process it. A bomb. Someone had put a bomb under his car. "Are you certain?" Marcus asked, though he knew Robert would not have called them without cause. "We cannot see clearly from a safe distance, but there is definitely something attached to the undercarriage. Something that was not there yesterday during the regular security sweep. We are not taking any chances." The police pushed everyone back further. They set up a perimeter with yellow tape. Officers in protective gear approached the Bentley with mirrors on long poles, examining it from every angle. Marcus watched them work, his heart pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. This was real. Someone really wanted him dead. A female police officer approached them. She had kind eyes and a gentle smile. "Hi there," she said, crouching down to Zara's eye level. "I am Officer Martinez. I heard you are the one who saw something suspicious. You are very brave." Zara looked at Marcus as if asking permission to speak. He nodded. "I was sitting over there," Zara pointed to the bench, "doing my math homework. I do not really like math, but my teacher says it is important." She paused. "The man came around 8:15. I know because I checked my phone. My mama gave me her old phone so I can call her if I need to." Officer Martinez pulled out a notepad. "Can you describe this man?" "He was tall. Maybe as tall as him." Zara pointed at Robert Chen, who was about 6 feet. He had dark hair and a mustache. His uniform said city maintenance on it, but the letters looked weird. Like they were iron-on letters, not real stitching. My mama works with clothes sometimes, so I noticed stuff like that. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. This child noticed details that most adults would miss. His shoes were wrong too, Zara continued. Maintenance workers wear work boots. Heavy ones. But this man wore regular shoes. Like sneakers, but trying to look like work shoes. And they were too clean. My mama says you can always tell a real worker by their shoes. Officer Martinez was writing quickly. This is excellent information, Zara. You are a very observant young lady. What happened next? He walked straight to that car. Zara pointed at the Bentley. He did not look at any other car. Just that one. He knew which one he wanted. He put his bag down, looked around again, then got on the ground and slid under the car. He was under there for maybe 3 or 4 minutes. When he came out, he did not have the bag anymore. He just got up, brushed off his uniform, and walked away really fast. Did you see which direction he went? Officer Martinez asked. He went down the stairs to the street level. Not through the main building. Through the emergency exit on the west side. Robert Chen looked at Marcus with raised eyebrows. The west side emergency exit did not have cameras. It was a blind spot in their security system. Marcus had been meaning to fix that, but it had never seemed urgent. Until now. The bomb squad arrived in their specialized van. They unloaded equipment, and Marcus watched as technicians in heavy protective suits approached his Bentley. The robot they brought looked like something from a science fiction movie. They used it to get a closer look under the car. The weight was unbearable. Marcus found himself pacing back and forth. His phone kept buzzing with messages and calls, but he ignored them all. His assistant was probably panicking because he was missing meetings. The board meeting would have to be postponed. The merger discussions would have to wait. None of that mattered now. Someone wanted him dead. Marcus looked at Zara, who sat on the ground with her back against a concrete pillar, working on her homework like nothing unusual was happening. How could she be so calm? Did she not understand the danger? Did she not realize that if he had started that car, if an explosion had happened, she could have been hurt too just by being nearby? Zara, Marcus said, walking over to her. You should call your mother. Tell her what is happening. She would want to know. Zara looked up from her math worksheet. I cannot call her. She is working. If I call her during work, she might get in trouble. Her boss is really strict about phones. I think your mother would understand given the circumstances. No, sir, Zara said firmly. My mama works hard. She has 3 jobs. She cleans offices in the morning, works at the grocery store in the afternoon, and does laundry at the hotel at night. I do not make her life harder by getting her in trouble at work. 3 jobs. Marcus tried to imagine what that life looked like. He could barely manage running one company. This woman, Zara's mother, worked 3 different jobs and was raising a daughter alone. And here was that daughter, mature beyond her years, protecting her mother from worry. Tell me about your father, Marcus said, not sure why he was asking, but feeling like he needed to know. Zara's face changed. The maturity fell away for a moment, and she looked exactly like what she was, a little girl who missed her daddy. He died 2 years ago. Cancer. He was a teacher. He taught history at the high school. Zara's voice got very quiet. He was really good at telling stories. He made history fun. All his students loved him. I am sorry, Marcus said, and he meant it. He used to tell me stories from the Bible. Not because we were super religious or anything, just because he liked the stories. They had good lessons in them. Zara looked up at Marcus. His favorite was about the Good Samaritan. Do you know that one? Marcus nodded. He had not thought about that story in years, but yes, he knew it. Daddy said that story was important because it shows that helping people is not about whether they deserve it or whether they are like you. It is just about seeing someone who needs help and choosing to stop, choosing to care. Zara went back to her homework. That is why I told you about the man. Because my daddy would want me to stop. Even if you are rich and I am not. Even if you probably would not stop for me if our situations were reversed. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. She was right, and they both knew it. If their situations had been reversed, if Zara had been the one in danger and Marcus had been the one who noticed, would he have stopped? Would he have taken the time to warn her? Or would he have been too busy, too focused on his own important matters, too convinced that it was not his problem? Marcus knew the answer, and it made him feel sick. You are wrong about one thing, Marcus said quietly. Zara looked up at him. I would stop for you. Maybe I would not have before today, but I would now. Before Zara could respond, the bomb squad captain walked over to them. His face was serious. Mr. Sterling, we have confirmed the presence of an explosive device attached to your vehicle. It is sophisticated, military grade. It was designed to detonate when the engine reached a certain operating temperature, which would have happened approximately 5 to 7 minutes into your drive. The parking garage suddenly felt very cold. If you had started that car this morning, sir, you would not have survived. Neither would anyone driving near you on the highway. This was a professional hit. The captain looked at Zara, then back at Marcus. This young lady saved your life. No question about it. Marcus sat down heavily on the ground next to Zara. His legs simply would not hold him up anymore. All the strength, all the confidence that made him a powerful CEO just drained away. He put his face in his hands. He had come within minutes of dying, of being blown apart on the highway, and the only reason he was still breathing was because a little girl he had never met, a child who had nothing to gain and everything to lose, had decided to trust her instincts and warn a stranger. Why? Marcus asked, looking at Zara. Why did you stay? After the security guard dismissed you, why did you not just give up? Zara closed her math book and looked at Marcus with those serious, ancient eyes. Because my daddy taught me that doing the right thing is not about whether people listen to you the first time. It is about not giving up when something important is at stake. He said the world has enough people who walk away. We need more people who stay. And in that moment, sitting on the dirty floor of a parking garage while police and bomb squad technicians worked to dismantle the device that would have killed him, Marcus Sterling realized something profound. He had spent 20 years building an empire. He had accumulated more wealth than he could spend in 10 lifetimes. He had power, influence, and success by every measure society valued. But this little girl with her patched jeans and worn jacket, this child who had nothing by the world's standards, had something Marcus had lost along the way. She had character. She had courage. She had a moral compass that pointed true north even when the easy path led somewhere else. And she had just taught him that maybe, just maybe, he had been measuring success all wrong. The FBI got involved by the afternoon. Apparently, sophisticated explosive devices attached to luxury vehicles triggered automatic federal investigations. Marcus found himself sitting in a conference room in his own building, answering questions from agents who looked at him with a mixture of professional courtesy and suspicion. Mr. Sterling, we need you to think carefully. Who would want you dead? Agent Thompson was a tall woman with sharp eyes and no-nonsense demeanor. Marcus almost laughed. How much time do you have? I am a CEO in the tech industry. I have plenty of enemies. Let us start with business rivals. Anyone you have outbid recently? Companies you have acquired against their will? Former partners who might feel cheated? The list was long. Marcus had built Sterling Tech Industries by being aggressive, by moving faster than competitors, by winning at any cost. He had crushed smaller companies, bought out patents, and occasionally engaged in corporate tactics that lived in the gray area between clever business and ethical violations. There is Richard Thornton, Marcus said slowly. He is the COO of Apex Technologies. We have been competing for the same defense contracts. I won a major one last month. The contract was worth $400 million. Richard was convinced Apex would get it. He sent me several threatening emails after the announcement. Agent Thompson made notes. Threatening how? Mostly just anger, saying I would regret it, that I did not know who I was messing with. I forwarded them to my legal team, but we did not take them seriously. Corporate people make threats all the time. It is just posturing. Not this time, Agent Thompson said grimly. We will need those emails. Who else? They went through more names. An investor who lost money when Marcus pulled out of a deal. A former executive Marcus had fired for embezzlement. A competitor in China who claimed Marcus had stolen intellectual property. The interview lasted 3 hours. By the end, Marcus felt drained. The reality of what had almost happened kept hitting him in waves. He could have died this morning, just gone. Erased from existence by some bomb maker who probably did not even know him personally. When the agents finally left, Marcus sat alone in the conference room. His assistant had been sending increasingly frantic messages. The board meeting had been canceled. The merger discussions were on hold. Stock prices had dipped slightly as rumors spread about an incident involving the CEO. Marcus did not care about any of it. He pulled out his phone and searched for the number the police had given him. Zara's mother, Simone Johnson. He stared at the number for a long time before finally dialing. The phone rang 4 times before a woman answered, her voice breathless. "Hello? Ms. Johnson? This is Marcus Sterling. I know who you are," Simone interrupted. Her voice was tight with worry. "The police called me. They told me what happened. Is Zara okay?" "She is fine. She is actually still here waiting for you. I sent my driver to get her some lunch. Ms. Johnson, I need to talk to you. Your daughter saved my life today." There was a long pause. "She told me what she saw when I called on my break. Mr. Sterling, I do not want any trouble. Zara is a good girl. She just saw something wrong and tried to help. That is all." Marcus frowned. "I am not calling to cause trouble. I am calling because I want to properly thank her." "And you?" "We do not need anything," Simone said quickly. "We are fine." But Marcus could hear the exhaustion in her voice. The bone-deep tiredness of someone who worked 3 jobs and still probably struggled to pay bills. Someone who had to worry about her daughter sitting on benches in parking garages doing homework while waiting for her mother to finish cleaning offices. "Please," Marcus said, "just let me meet with you. Both of you. I promise I am not trying to cause problems. I need to do this." Another long pause. Then Simone sighed. "Okay, but not anywhere public. Zara does not need attention from this. She is just a kid." They agreed to meet at a small cafe the next morning. Marcus would rent the entire space for privacy. As he hung up, his head of security, Robert, knocked on the conference room door. "Sir, we have reviewed all our security footage. The man Zara described does not show up on any cameras. He knew exactly where our blind spots were. He came in through the west side emergency exit, stayed out of camera range, and left the same way. So it was someone who knew our security system, or someone who was given that information by someone who knows our security system." Robert's face was grim. "Sir, we need to consider the possibility of an inside threat. Someone in this company might have helped plan this." Marcus felt sick. One of his own employees might have been involved in trying to kill him. Someone he passed in the hallway, said good morning to, maybe even trusted. "Pull all employee records for anyone who has left the company in the last 6 months. Anyone who was fired or resigned. Cross-reference them with known associates of our competitors. Check financial records for any unusual transactions. If someone was paid to help with this, there might be a money trail." Robert nodded and left. Marcus was alone again. His phone buzzed with a text from his assistant. "Mr. Sterling, the mayor's office called. They want to do a press conference about what happened. They are calling Zara a hero." "What should I tell them?" Marcus typed back, "No press conference. The family wants privacy. Tell the mayor's office we appreciate their concern, but we are handling this quietly." He did not want Zara's life disrupted by media attention. She was just a kid who did the right thing. She did not need cameras in her face or reporters asking her questions. But even as Marcus protected Zara's privacy, he could not stop thinking about what she had said. About the Good Samaritan. About choosing to stop and help even when it is inconvenient. Marcus had spent his entire adult life walking past people who needed help. He had never considered it his problem. He paid his taxes. He followed the law mostly. That was enough, was it not? But sitting in that conference room, knowing he was alive only because a little girl had chosen differently, Marcus started to wonder if following the law was not the same thing as doing right. That night, Marcus did not go home to his penthouse apartment. Instead, he sat in his office researching. He looked up Zara's neighborhood. The schools there had failing test scores, outdated equipment, and high teacher turnover. The community center was about to close due to budget cuts. The park had broken playground equipment that had not been fixed in years. Marcus looked at the numbers. The average household income, the percentage of single-parent homes, the crime rates, the lack of grocery stores, leaving residents dependent on overpriced convenience stores, the absence of banks forcing people to use check cashing services with predatory fees. This was not just a poor neighborhood. It was a neighborhood that had been systematically abandoned by everyone with the power to help, including him. Marcus's company was headquartered less than 3 miles from where Zara lived. He had driven past her neighborhood countless times without really seeing it, without thinking about the people who lived there, struggled there, tried to build decent lives there despite every obstacle. He pulled up his company's charitable giving records. Last year, Sterling Tech Industries had donated $100,000 to various causes. That sounded generous until Marcus compared it to the company's revenue, $8 billion. They had given away 0.01% of their income. It was pathetic. Marcus spent hours that night creating spreadsheets and making calculations. He looked at what it would cost to really make a difference in a neighborhood like Zara's, not token charity. Real investment. Schools, community centers, job training programs, small business loans. The numbers were big, tens of millions of dollars, maybe more. The kind of investment that would make his board of directors uncomfortable. The kind of commitment that could not be explained away as good publicity or tax advantages. But Marcus kept thinking about Zara's hand over his mouth. I need you to trust me. She had trusted that he would listen, that he would take her seriously despite her age, despite her appearance, despite every reason he might have had to dismiss her. And because she had trusted him, he was still alive. Maybe it was time for Marcus Sterling to start trusting in something bigger than profit margins and shareholder value. Maybe it was time to trust that doing the right thing mattered more than protecting his bottom line. As dawn broke over the city, Marcus was still in his office, planning. Not a business strategy, not a corporate expansion, but something that felt more important than any deal he had ever made. He was planning how to give back to the community that had given him everything, including his life. And he was planning how to make sure that little girls like Zara never had to sit on benches in parking garages, doing homework while waiting for their mothers to finish work, because maybe, just maybe, they deserved better than that. They all did. The next morning felt different for Marcus. He woke up at 5 a.m. like always, but instead of checking stock prices and emails, he found himself thinking about Zara's words, about her father's wisdom, about being rich in things that actually mattered. His penthouse apartment suddenly felt too big, too empty. The floor-to-ceiling windows showed him the entire city, but he realized he had never really seen it. Not the way Zara saw it. She noticed details, people, problems that needed solving. Marcus just saw buildings and opportunities. He made his coffee and sat down with his laptop. But instead of opening his work emails, he started researching. He typed in the name of Zara's neighborhood and began reading everything he could find. Washington Heights. That was where she lived. The articles painted a picture that made Marcus uncomfortable. Schools that were falling apart. Teachers buying supplies with their own money. Kids sharing textbooks because there were not enough. Parents working 2 or 3 jobs just to pay rent. One article mentioned a community center that was about to close. Marcus read the details carefully. The Riverside Community Center had been serving the neighborhood for 30 years. It offered after-school programs, job training, GED classes, and a safe place for kids whose parents worked late shifts. But funding had been cut and they could not keep the doors open past the end of the month. Marcus looked at the numbers. They needed $200,000 a year to operate. He had spent more than that on his last vacation. He picked up his phone and called his assistant before remembering it was only 6 in the morning. He left a voicemail instead. Linda, I need you to find out who runs the Riverside Community Center in Washington Heights. Get me their contact information. I want to meet with them today if possible. Then Marcus did something he had not done in years. He got dressed in casual clothes, jeans, and a simple sweater, and drove himself to Washington Heights. No driver, no security. Just him and his thoughts. The neighborhood looked different in the early morning light. People were already up, heading to early shifts. He saw mothers walking children to school, old men sitting on stoops drinking coffee, street vendors setting up their carts. Life was happening here, real life, and Marcus had driven past it 1,000 times without really seeing it. He parked his car and walked around. The elementary school Zara probably attended had a chain-link fence that was rusted and bent. The playground equipment looked dangerous. Through the windows, he could see classrooms that needed paint, needed new furniture, needed everything. A few blocks away, Marcus found the community center. It was an old brick building with a faded sign. Even from outside, he could see it needed repairs. The windows were old, the door needed replacing, and the roof looked like it might leak. But there were kids inside already. He could hear laughter, voices. Through the window, he saw teenagers sitting at tables working on homework. An older woman was helping a young man fill out what looked like a job application. This place mattered. These people mattered, and it was about to close because $200,000 was too much money for a neighborhood like this. But pocket change for people like Marcus. His phone rang. It was Robert Chen, his head of security. "Sir, we found something. The FBI has been investigating Richard Thornton from Apex Technologies. They have evidence connecting him to the bombing attempt. Financial records show he paid someone $50,000 2 weeks ago. The same amount was deposited into an account linked to known criminal activity." Marcus felt his stomach drop. Richard Thornton. They had been rivals for years, competing for the same defense contracts. Marcus had won the last big one, worth $400 million. He remembered getting angry emails from Richard afterward, but he had never imagined it would lead to this. "Is he in custody?" Marcus asked. "FBI is moving to arrest him now. They wanted to let you know. They will need you to come in for more questions later today." "I will be there," Marcus said and hung up. So it was Richard, a man Marcus had known for 15 years, someone he had played golf with, had drinks with at industry conferences, someone who smiled at him while apparently planning to kill him. The corporate world Marcus lived in suddenly felt poisonous. Everyone was so focused on winning, on beating the competition, on getting ahead, that they had lost sight of basic human decency. Richard had been willing to commit murder for a contract. Murder. Over money and pride. Marcus looked back at the community center. At the kids inside who were just trying to get an education, to build better lives. At the adults trying to learn new skills so they could support their families. They were not trying to destroy anyone. They were just trying to survive, to help each other, to make their corner of the world a little better. Which world did Marcus want to be part of? The one where people killed for contracts? Or the one where a little girl risked herself to save a stranger? He already knew the answer. Marcus walked into the community center. The smell hit him immediately, old building smell mixed with fresh coffee. A young woman at the front desk looked up, surprised to see someone in expensive clothes walking through their door. "Can I help you?" she asked cautiously. "My name is Marcus Sterling. I'm looking for whoever's in charge here." The woman's eyes widened with recognition. The Marcus Sterling. "From Sterling Tech?" "Yes, I need to speak with your director." "I will get Ms. Patterson. Just wait here, please." Marcus looked around while he waited. The walls were covered with pictures of kids, certificates of achievement, thank you notes written in crayon. There was a bulletin board full of job postings and community announcements. This was a place that mattered to people. An older black woman came out from a back office. She was probably in her 60s with gray hair pulled back in a neat bun. She looked tired but carried herself with quiet strength. "Mr. Sterling, I am Dorothy Patterson, director of this center. I'm a bit confused about why you are here, but please come to my office." Her office was small and cluttered with paperwork. Dorothy sat behind a desk covered in folders and offered Marcus the only other chair in the room. "I will be direct, Ms. Patterson. I know your center is closing due to lack of funding. I want to help." Dorothy's face showed surprise, then caution. "Why would someone like you care about our little community center?" "Because a young girl from this neighborhood saved my life 2 days ago. Her name is Zara Johnson. Do you know her?" Dorothy's face transformed with a warm smile. "Zara, of course I know her. She volunteers here on weekends, reads to the younger children. She is a remarkable child." "What happened?" Marcus told her the story. About the parking lot, the bomb, Zara's courage. Dorothy listened with tears in her eyes. That sounds exactly like something Zara would do. Her father taught her well before he passed. He volunteered here too, you know. Taught history classes for adults getting their GED. He was a good man. "His daughter is carrying on his legacy," Marcus said, "and I want to help her do that. I want to fund your center. Full operating budget for the next 5 years. $200,000 a year. Whatever you need." Dorothy stared at him. That is $1 million, I know. Why? People like you do not usually invest in neighborhoods like ours." Marcus thought about how to answer. "Because I have been successful in business but a failure as a human being. I have made billions while people in this neighborhood struggle for basics. That needs to change, and it starts with making sure this center stays open." Dorothy studied his face carefully. "Money is appreciated, Mr. Sterling, but this community has been let down by rich people making promises before. They come in, write a check for publicity, then disappear. We need more than money. We need commitment. We need someone who will actually show up." "Then I will show up," Marcus said firmly. I do not just want to write a check. I want to understand what this community needs. I want to invest in schools, job programs, small businesses, real investment, long-term, but I cannot do that without guidance from people like you who actually know what is needed. Dorothy was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood up and extended her hand. Okay, Mr. Sterling, let us see if you mean what you say. Can you come back tomorrow? I will gather some community leaders, parents, teachers. You can hear directly from them what life is like here, what we really need. If you are serious about helping, that is where we start. Marcus shook her hand. I will be here. What time? 7 p.m. after people get off work. And Mr. Sterling? Do not wear your expensive suit. Come as you are now. We need to see you as a person, not a symbol of wealth. Marcus nodded and left the community center feeling something he had not felt in years. Purpose. Real purpose. Not the hollow satisfaction of closing a business deal, but the deep sense that he was finally doing something that mattered. His phone buzzed with messages from his assistant, his board members, his lawyers. They all wanted to know where he was, why he was missing meetings, what his plans were regarding the company after the bombing attempt. Marcus ignored them all. For the first time in 20 years, his business empire was not the most important thing in his life. A little girl in a denim jacket had stopped him from walking to his death. Now he was going to stop walking through life blind to the people around him. The change had begun. Marcus spent the rest of the day handling necessary business. The FBI interview took 3 hours. They showed him evidence against Richard Thornton, surveillance photos, financial records, email exchanges. It was overwhelming and sickening. A man he had considered a colleague had paid someone to kill him over a business deal. Will he go to prison? Marcus asked Agent Thompson. For a very long time, she confirmed. Attempted murder, conspiracy, hiring a hitman. He is looking at 25 years minimum, maybe more. Marcus should have felt satisfaction, but he just felt empty. This was the world he had been living in. A world where people valued money more than human life, where competition turned into hatred, where winning meant everything, even if it meant destroying others. He did not want to live in that world anymore. That evening, Marcus returned to Washington Heights. He arrived at the community center at 6:45 early. He wore jeans and a plain sweater like Dorothy had suggested. No Rolex watch, no designer clothes. Just Marcus, the person, not Marcus Sterling, the billionaire CEO. The meeting room was filling up with people. Dorothy had done what she promised. There were teachers still wearing their work clothes, looking exhausted from long days. Parents who had rushed from their jobs. Community organizers, local business owners, even some teenagers who were part of the center's programs. Zara was there too, sitting with her mother, Simone. When she saw Marcus, she waved shyly. Marcus waved back, feeling a warmth in his chest. Dorothy called the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming on short notice. This is Marcus Sterling. Some of you may know his name from the news. He wants to talk about investing in our neighborhood. But before we hear from him, I want us to talk honestly about what we need. Mr. Sterling, I hope you are ready to listen. Marcus stood up. 20 pairs of eyes watched him, some curious, some skeptical, some hopeful. Thank you for having me, he began. I am not here to give a speech or make promises I cannot keep. I am here to learn. 3 days ago, a child from this neighborhood saved my life. That child taught me that I have been living wrong. I have been so focused on making money that I forgot about making a difference. I want to change that. But I need your help to do it right. A woman in the back raised her hand. She looked to be in her 40s, wearing scrubs like she worked in healthcare. Why should we trust you? Rich people have come here before with big ideas. They take pictures, make announcements, then nothing changes. How are you different? It was a fair question. Marcus appreciated the directness. I cannot prove I am different with words, he said honestly. I can only prove it with actions over time. But I can tell you this. I am not here for publicity or tax breaks. I am here because I realized my life had no real meaning. I have more money than I can ever spend, but until 3 days ago, I had never done anything truly important. I want to change that. And I am asking you to give me a chance to prove it. Another hand went up. A younger man, maybe in his 20s. What exactly are you proposing? What kind of investment? Marcus pulled out a folder he had prepared. I have been researching this neighborhood. Your schools need everything. Updated technology, more teachers, better facilities, supplies. The community center needs funding. There is no quality grocery store within walking distance, forcing people to shop at expensive convenience stores. There are talented people here who cannot start businesses because they cannot get loans. Children with potential who will not go to college because they cannot afford it. He paused, looking around the room. I am proposing a comprehensive investment, not charity. Real investment. Funding for schools. Supporting the community center long-term. Creating a small business loan program with fair terms. Establishing scholarship funds. Job training programs. After-school tutoring. Whatever this community needs to thrive, not just survive. The room was silent. Then an elderly man spoke up. He had gray hair and wore glasses. Son, that sounds nice. But these problems are not solved with money alone. We have had programs before that failed because outsiders did not understand our community. They made decisions for us, not with us. Which is exactly why I am here, Marcus said. I do not want to make decisions for you. I want to fund the decisions you make. You know what this community needs better than I ever will. I am offering resources. You provide the knowledge and direction. A teacher raised her hand. She looked young, probably just a few years out of college. I teach 5th grade at Washington Elementary. Do you know what it is like trying to teach 30 kids with 10 outdated textbooks? I buy supplies with my own money. We have 1 computer for every 5 students. The ceiling leaks when it rains. And we are supposed to prepare these kids to compete with students in wealthy districts who have everything. Her voice cracked with emotion. These kids are brilliant. They are creative and hardworking. But they are starting a race miles behind because of where they were born. If you are serious about helping, really serious, then yes, we need help desperately. Marcus felt the weight of her words. These were not abstract problems. These were real children whose futures were being limited by circumstances beyond their control. Tell me what your school needs, Marcus said to the teacher. Make me a list. Everything. Do not hold back. If we can do it, we will. Everything? She repeated skeptically. Everything. The teacher glanced at others in the room, then back at Marcus. New textbooks for every subject. Computers for every classroom. Smart boards. Science lab equipment, art supplies, musical instruments. The roof needs fixing. The heating system barely works. The playground equipment is dangerous. We need more teachers so class sizes can be smaller. We need counselors because many of these kids are dealing with trauma. We need, make the list. Marcus interrupted gently. I will read it. We will prioritize. And we will start fixing these problems. The meeting continued for 2 more hours. Person after person shared their struggles, their needs, their dreams for the community. Marcus listened to it all, taking notes, asking questions, learning. A single mother talked about working 3 jobs and still barely affording rent. A teenager described watching his friends drop out of school to work because their families needed money. A grandmother explained how she was raising her grandchildren because their parents were in prison, victims of a system that criminalized poverty. Every story broke Marcus's heart a little more, and every story strengthened his resolve. These were not statistics. These were people. Real people with hopes and fears and potential that was being wasted because society had decided they did not matter as much as people in wealthier neighborhoods. When the meeting finally ended, people came up to Marcus individually, some still skeptical, some cautiously hopeful, some just tired and desperate for anything that might help. Simone approached with Zara. That was something, she said quietly. I have never seen anyone with money actually listen before. Usually they just talk. I have done enough talking in my life, Marcus said. It is time to listen, time to learn, time to actually help instead of just pretending to care. Zara tugged on his sleeve. Mr. Sterling, my teacher Ms. Rodriguez was here. She is really nice. Can you really get new books for our classroom? Ours are so old that some pages are missing. Marcus knelt down to Zara's level. Yes, new books, new computers, whatever your school needs. You saved my life, Zara. The least I can do is help save the futures of kids like you. Not just me, Zara said seriously. My friend Carlos is really smart, but his family might have to move because rent is too high. And my friend Maya wants to be a doctor, but she says it is just a dream because college costs too much. Can you help them too? I am going to try, Marcus promised. I am really going to try. As people filed out of the community center, Dorothy pulled Marcus aside. You did well tonight. You listened. That matters. But listening is just the first step. Now comes the hard part. Actually following through. Are you ready for that? Marcus looked around the room at the pictures on the walls, the certificates of achievement, the thank you notes from kids. This place had been changing lives for 30 years on a shoestring budget. Imagine what it could do with real resources. I am ready, Marcus said. Tell me where to start. Dorothy smiled, the first genuine smile she had given him. Then let us get to work. 6 months had passed since that morning in the parking lot. 6 months since a little girl's hand stopped Marcus from walking into death. 6 months since everything changed. Marcus stood in the gymnasium of Washington Elementary School, but he barely recognized it. The old, crumbling building had been completely transformed. New paint covered every wall in bright, cheerful colors. The floors had been refinished and actually shined now. Through the large windows, he could see the new playground equipment where children played during recess, laughing and screaming with joy on equipment that was safe and modern. But the physical changes were just the surface. The real transformation was deeper. Test scores had jumped 30% in just one semester. Attendance was the highest it had been in a decade. Teachers were smiling again, no longer spending their own money on basic supplies. Parents were engaged, showing up to meetings and events because they finally felt like their voices mattered. The community center had tripled its programs. Job training classes were full every night. The after-school program now served 200 kids instead of 50. A new computer lab offered coding classes taught by volunteers from Marcus's company. And next month they were opening a small business incubator to help local entrepreneurs get started. But Marcus knew none of this would have happened without trust. Real trust. The kind that had to be earned day by day, promise by promise, action by action. He had shown up. Every week for 6 months he had come to Washington Heights, not sending assistants or representatives. Him, Marcus Sterling, in jeans and casual shirts, sitting in community meetings, listening to problems, working on solutions. He had eaten dinner in people's homes, played basketball with teenagers at the center, read stories to kids in the new library. His board of directors had been furious at first. They called it a distraction, a waste of his time, a risk to the company. Some had even tried to force him out as CEO. But Marcus had stood firm. He had restructured his role, hired an excellent COO to handle day-to-day operations, and made it clear that his priorities had shifted. If you want a CEO who only cares about profit, find someone else, he had told the board. I am building something more important than wealth. I am building trust, I am building community, and I am not stopping. 3 board members had resigned. Marcus did not try to convince them to stay. The remaining board members, after seeing the positive publicity and genuine social impact, had eventually come around. Sterling Tech's reputation had actually improved. Young talent wanted to work for a company that cared about more than money. Customers respected their commitment to social responsibility, but Marcus was not doing this for publicity or profit. He was doing it because it felt right. Because for the first time in his adult life, he woke up excited about something bigger than himself. Now, standing in the gymnasium filled with students, parents, teachers, and community members, Marcus felt nervous. Today was special. Today they were announcing the scholarship recipients for the Sterling Future Leaders program. 20 students from Washington Heights were receiving full scholarships to college, including living expenses, books, and even money for their families so the students would not have to work full-time while studying. Zara was one of the recipients. The crowd settled down as Dorothy Patterson took the microphone. She looked different too. The exhaustion that had lined her face 6 months ago had been replaced with energy and hope. The community center she had dedicated her life to was not just surviving anymore. It was thriving. 6 months ago, a man walked into my office with a proposal that sounded too good to be true. Dorothy began. I was skeptical. We have been disappointed before. But I told him that if he was serious, he had to prove it. Not with money alone, but with presence, with consistency, with genuine commitment. She paused and looked at Marcus. Marcus Sterling proved it. He did not just write checks and disappear. He showed up, week after week. He listened to our struggles. He celebrated our victories. He admitted when he did not know something and asked us to teach him. He became part of this community, not a savior from outside it, but a member working alongside us. The crowd applauded. Marcus felt his face flush with emotion. Today we celebrate something bigger than scholarships or new buildings, Dorothy continued. We celebrate what happens when people choose connection over isolation, when they choose community over individual success, when they choose to see each other as human beings who all deserve dignity, opportunity, and hope. She called up the scholarship recipients one by one. Each student walked across the stage to receive their award, their faces showing a mixture of joy, disbelief, and pride. Their families cried and cheered. Some of these kids were the first in their families to go to college. For some, this scholarship meant the difference between a lifetime of struggle and a chance at something better. When Zara's name was called, the gymnasium erupted. Everyone knew her story. Everyone knew she was the reason any of this had happened. She walked across the stage in a new dress her mother had bought for the occasion, her natural hair styled beautifully, her smile bright enough to light the whole room. Marcus handed her the certificate. "Thank you," he whispered. "For everything," Zara hugged him tightly. "You listened," she whispered back. "That is all we needed, someone to finally listen." After all the awards were given, they asked Marcus to say a few words. He took the microphone with shaking hands. Public speaking had never made him nervous before, but this felt different. These people knew him now. Really knew him. They had seen him make mistakes, ask stupid questions, struggle to understand their reality. There was no hiding behind a corporate persona here. "I do not really know what to say," Marcus began honestly. 6 months ago, I thought I had life figured out. I was successful, powerful, rich. I thought that meant I was winning. But I was actually losing in every way that mattered. He looked at Zara, sitting in the front row with her mother. A 9-year-old girl taught me something that all my education and experience had failed to teach me. She taught me that courage means helping people even when you get nothing in return. She taught me that real wealth is measured in relationships, not bank accounts. And she taught me that trust is the most valuable thing we can give each other. Marcus paused, collecting his thoughts. When Zara stopped me in that parking lot, she asked me to trust her, and I did, even though every instinct told me not to. That trust saved my life. But more than that, it changed my life. It showed me what I'd been missing. Connection, purpose, the chance to be part of something bigger than myself. He looked around the room at faces that had become familiar over the past 6 months. People who had welcomed him despite having every reason to be suspicious. People who had taught him about resilience, about community, about what really matters. This community trusted me even when I had not earned it yet. You gave me a chance to prove myself. You taught me, guided me, corrected me when I got things wrong. And you allowed me to be part of something beautiful. The transformation of this neighborhood is not my accomplishment. It is yours. I just provided some resources. You provided the vision, the work, the heart. The crowd was silent, listening. My company makes billions of dollars every year. I used to think that was my legacy. Now I know better. My legacy will be measured in the lives that change because we chose to invest in people instead of just profits. It will be measured in kids like Zara who get chances they deserve. It will be measured in a community that refused to give up on itself and allowed an outsider to become an insider. Marcus felt tears in his eyes. So thank you. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for teaching me. And thank you for showing me what life can be when we stop walking past each other and start walking with each other. The applause was thunderous. People stood clapping, some crying, some laughing with joy. Marcus stepped off the stage and was immediately surrounded by people wanting to thank him, hug him, share their stories of how their lives had changed. But Marcus kept looking for Zara. He finally found her standing with her mother, watching everything with those same serious eyes that had stopped him in the parking lot. He walked over to them. "Simone, Zara, can I talk to you for a moment?" They stepped outside into the cool evening air. The sun was setting, painting the sky in oranges and purples. The neighborhood looked different now, cleaner, brighter, more hopeful. "I want to tell you something," Marcus said. "Something I have not told anyone else yet." They waited, curious. "I am stepping down as CEO of Sterling Tech. I am staying on the board, but I am done with the corporate world. I am starting a foundation dedicated to community development, real development led by the communities themselves. I want to take what we have done here and replicate it in other neighborhoods that have been forgotten and ignored. Simone's eyes widened. Marcus, that is your life's work. Your company. No, Marcus said gently. My company was what I did. This is who I want to be, and I cannot do both. Not the right way. So I am choosing this. I am choosing purpose over profit. I am choosing community over corporate success. He knelt down to Zara's level just like he had 6 months ago. You saved my life twice, once from a bomb, and once from a life that looked successful but felt empty. I can never repay that, but I can spend the rest of my life trying to honor it by helping others the way you helped me. Zara looked at him with those wise eyes. My daddy would say you are not repaying anything. You are just finally becoming who you were always supposed to be. Marcus laughed through his tears. Your daddy was right about everything, was not he? Pretty much, Zara said with a small smile. As they walked back into the gymnasium, Marcus felt something he had not felt in decades. Peace. Real, deep peace. Not the temporary satisfaction of closing a deal or seeing stock prices rise, but the lasting peace that comes from knowing your life has meaning, your actions have impact, and you are part of something bigger than yourself. The little girl who had stopped him with her hand over his mouth had given him the greatest gift anyone had ever given him. She had given him a second chance. Not just at life, but at living a life worth living. And Marcus was determined to spend every remaining day proving that her trust had not been misplaced. That her courage had not been wasted. That her father's teachings about helping others, about choosing to stop instead of walking past, had changed the world one person at a time, starting with a billionaire CEO who had needed a child to teach him what really mattered. Trust, courage, community, love. Everything else was just noise.